Stefan kommer alldeles strax joina oss igen i panelen som är nästa punkt. Den kommer modereras av ingen mindre än Maja Garkusha. Och även Örs kommer att vara med i den som ni har sett tidigare. Men vi har 3 nya för idag. Mattias Glöckler, Lidl. Och Simon Bartosz från OMG. 2 nya var det. Så varmt välkomna upp panelen.
Så. Vill ni... Aha. Jag tänker att jag ska sitta på pallen. Ja. Jag får liksom rearrange. Tack så jättemycket för intron, Sara. I'm going to switch to English now. Mainly because I don't speak Danish and we have a Dane in the panel. I'm sorry. Right, so obviously welcome to the panel, everyone. I hope you are a bit of replenished with some water and some snacks. I don't know, obviously it's a bit late in the afternoon. But we need the energy because there's some really interesting topics that we're going to discuss in this panel. So first of all, thanks Urs and Stefan for the presentations around CTV and digital out of home. This is also kind of a nice segue into the topics that we're going to address, which is traditional media going programmatic. So as we heard earlier today, both from the BI Group's study and IRM report that these new formats and channels are growing rapidly, and a little bit also what you, Stefan, and Urs were explaining. But is it all fun and games? So what do you see as the biggest challenge as more traditional media goes programmatic? Who wants to go? Come on.
I can start. Yeah.
Yes.
So as I mentioned a little bit before, we as media owners need to be out, or publishers need to be out and educate the market. And there's different mindsets when we meet different teams. So the traditional buy-side teams, they might focus quite a lot on the media placement and the context and the formats, while programmatic teams often focus on effectiveness and those kind of measures. And we need to find a right balance in between that.
Right. Do you agree on that? I'm thinking you, Simon, who's actually on the agency side and perhaps have more... I know that you've also been on agency side, but you're not representing that now. Do you agree on that's also what's kind of needed?
Yeah, so the question was the challenges.
Yeah, the challenges, of course.
Yeah, so we see that when we do this transition, we have to use more, we have to be more tech-driven and use also focus more on data analysis and that part. There's a lot to say here, but it's also a way for us to. We have to change the way we think about planning and how we dispose of our resources and time. So, yeah.
So planning and a little bit of how you actually utilize your internal resources when it comes to new formats.
Yeah, we have to look more on the data and do a lot more internal education and focus less on those things we are seeing and working with now, like yeah.
Okay.
I think programmatic is in a phase, especially for the traditional media, that it's not a nice to have anymore, it's a need to have, especially from the pressure from the market. We see that we should offer something else than we did before. Broad targeting doesn't work anymore. We need to be able to do something else from the publisher side. So I'm not sure everyone actually wants to go that way, but somehow the market is pushing us that way. And so it definitely gives a lot of new possibilities, but it's also hard to develop. So when doing programmatic, we need to be much more in dialogue with the buyer, the tech, to get it to work. So as you say, planning is harder for you on your end because you need to develop and educate. There's so much in between because there's another layer. So that's why we need to spend more time on it and invest in it together.
Where is the push coming from? Because you said something about like, okay, the market is kind of like it's being pushed. I'm thinking, are we all pushing this together, or do you see that there's a current trend where maybe one side of the ecosystem is even more in advanced when it comes to the development?
So it's the same like display 7-8 years ago. They were pushing a lot.
Yeah.
Now it's actually evolved to something that works. When traditional media like out of home or CTV, where you're at a stage where we're just some years behind on this one.
And now that we kind of discussed a little bit about sort of the challenges of these type of formats moving into the ecosystem, what would you say sort of the greatest advantages are?
If I may.
Yes.
So advantages for us is that we have a lot more inventory to draw analysis and data from, and use that in other places, like when the traditional, we still need a traditional, of course, but we can make more data-driven insights with a lot of more inventory. So that will help us, I think.
It allows for more flexibility as well as an advertiser. Like, we are in the retail industry, we do a lot of ad hoc campaigns, and we need to be moving a sort of fast-paced campaign environment. And to move away from, long negotiation, yearly contracts, high cost commits on spend levels, it's quite nice to have the flexibility of programmatic in that instance. But still, it's I just want to add that from the other point, when it comes to a challenge, I think it's nice to sit here with two sort of forward-leading actors. But the whole industry needs to move ahead, because if it becomes fragmented in the way we buy, you have some access to programmatic, to use programmatic in one way, but you still have, with some publishers, yearly contracts for traditional medias. It becomes a bad imbalance.
So you want more flexibility as an advertiser, obviously, because you represent the advertising side here now. So
for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think one thing to add as well and I agree with the rest of the speakers here as well, especially also the flexibility to offer it more ad hoc. But also see that this opens up with programmatic, it opens up for so much new type of advertisers where the complexity of buying it direct was a too high barrier. Now you can buy it quite more easily for new type of advertisers and test around as well. You don't have to have a whole big budget to do a network buy. You can try small and see if you see some short-term effects, and then you can increase the budget as well. That's also a really good advantage, where we can see new type of advertisers that embrace new kind of medias as well. Okay,
and I'm thinking, because you kind of touched base upon how this is impacting a little bit of your organizations, but you want to explain a bit more? I'm thinking especially from an agency perspective, perhaps from a publisher perspective as well. How have you seen the change actually impacting you internally? Are the new roles created, or how is the workflow different when you're actually kind of embracing more offline media into sort of these types of way of buying?
Should we start with the publisher?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I would say from our point of view, we have naturally we have put the programmatic offer within our sales team. In that way, we have a new kind of tool in our toolbox to offer the advertisers. So direct bookings will work really good for advertisers that want to have high reach, go broad, and have long lead times in terms of planning. But then we also now can offer our inventory to advertisers that need to work more flexible with ad hoc, or also if they want to go always on for 52 weeks on out of home. That can be really expensive, but with programmatic you can have a always on. In Swedish we say it matta, but carpet. So, so to say.
Great. Anyone else want to add how that is impacting your organizations?
Impacting us on the agency side, because we have to get the traditional specialist teams and the digital ones to be more integrated and communicate across teams, of course, and we have to make them is sort of a restructure and re-education of some sort, as I mentioned before. So that's the main thing, and we have to be more agile when looking at the fast changes within as more become programmatic. So more data-driven, and it will be, of course, assisted by AI and automation part as well.
But I'm just a follow-up question on that. Would that mean that, for instance, someone who traditionally plans, let's say, digital out of home, do they need to become more tech-savvy, or is it the other way around, that people that are more perhaps they're into the tech side and like operational side of the business, do they need to know more about the media?
Yeah, we think so, and that's the way everything evolves, right? So you can't really be on just one side anymore. You have to be aware at least, and be able to communicate and be a part of the digital part of it when it's becoming more visible. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's the same.
Yeah.
So they need to know the media on the buy side, and we need to know who's actually handling it on the buy side, because we need to talk together. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more troubleshooting going on, and instead of just creating a line item and setting it live. There's so many steps where it can go wrong. So I think it's really interesting, because we can do much more with it, but we need to have everyone educated in the team. So it's both on sales side, it's on ad ops, it's on programmatic, in the programmatic teams. Everyone needs to be updated on this.
But it kind of sounds like it's not a great solution if it's more troubleshooting.
No, but as I said in my presentation, is we are also going from really broad to actually the possibility to narrow down on not a single person, but a single area, a single audience. So it also gives us a lot.
Yep.
But the way to it is just a bit longer than everyone has expected, I guess.
And for advertisers, does it really matter in that sense? Like,
no, I never touched the systems.
No, exactly, right? Like, who cares, really? As long as it delivers, right?
Of course, it puts pressures on the selection of partners that you work with. But that's been a sort of a change for the past 5 years, right? You know, the technical competences weighs a lot more high. So when you select your partners that you work with, you don't do your buys in-house. It's crucial, right? You need to find a partner who's foremost transparent, especially since like programmatic has had historically perhaps a bit of a bad legacy, right? And if we're shifting even more investments into it, transparency is key. So trust in your partners is super important.
Okay, so now we've discussed a little bit about challenges and advantages, and also kind of like how this shift is restructuring kind of internally for different organizations. But do you feel like it could be a possibility where there's like no IO buys, it's just programmatic? Or what's your stance on that? Like, can we combine IO bookings and programmatic bookings, or how does this work? What's your thoughts on that? Or you want to answer, I see it in your face.
For sure, let's just label it as programmatic guaranteed and solution, right?
Yeah.
No, but it feels like I would love to see a world that goes away from sort of IO bookings.
You want flexibility, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
But also like in the way that you buy, you know, buying in bulk doesn't make any sense anymore. And I think advertisers today, we have too many campaigns. It's not like usually for 10 years ago when you had like one large image campaign per year and then you were happy. Now it's like campaigns on campaigns on campaigns, and it becomes super messy, and it's a bad experience for a user. Like the total frequency is out of line and there's no control. So definitely.
What about, yes, of course, add.
So, we see that it won't go away in any way, but traditional will be IO will be used more like to get that sort of environment or secure a certain amount of inventory. But using IO we think will be dependent on the expanded programmatic side of it. So it's going to be data driven when we choose to go with IO.
Okay.
And from the publisher side, I would say we see quite a lot that we will probably going to have the guaranteed bookings, even if it's PG or IO, whatever. That's probably based on what type of, if the advertiser using a trading desk or doing something in-house. But we see quite a lot that you put your direct booking, your guaranteed bookings this week to have this impact. And then you add on top programmatic during with the flexibility during some time periods during the week or some days during the week where you want that more peak impact as well.
Mm?
Yes, it would never go away.
Never?
No,
okay.
I don't think so.
I'm gonna next year if you're gonna come, then we'll see.
No,
the discussion will be.
It's a question of supply and demand. So when supply is low, the advertiser wants to be sure that their ads are shown. Then they definitely buy IO, and let's call it PGs. But it all really depends on what the advertiser actually wants with the creative, and I can't see that where we are now. I think looking again, I'm mentioning a display again. That's the world where we have seen the move because there's so much inventory out there. It's not the case in CTV and out of home yet. Maybe at some point, but I still think there's some advertisers that wants to be at some content or some place or some area. So I think the IO bookings will still be there.
I mean, technically, you could actually secure kind of guaranteed buys, a little bit what you were saying, if it's more like a guaranteed booking. Like, we're not going to go into details about tech stuff, but I'm just thinking it all depends a little bit about definition as well, I guess.
The definition of programmatic is a PG is just a IO booking, right?
Yeah,
so
kind of is.
I know there's a lot of great things on buy side that you get the data on your end. It's more flexible in that way, and you can do cross-channel analysis and all that, so that's good. But it's still an IO booking. Cool.
So, so what do you see ahead? I know you kind of touched base on that in your presentations as well, but how do you see sort of the landscape shifting in the next, let's say, 5 years when it comes to all these new formats?
Yeah, good question.
Yes.
But hopefully, or my hope is like that now that we have more channels programmatically, we look at it more holistically, both in terms of the buy side of it, but also the creative side of it as well. And we can get like have a coherent messaging across several medias and channels, and also going all in on like, either you do branding or you do performance. Sometimes advertisers want to be in the middle and do both. But we have seen quite a lot that it's most efficient if you go all in on either this is a branding campaign or this is a more tactically driven performance campaign.
I think it's gonna, especially if you connect it to traditional media, it's gonna open up a new revenue stream for the publishers. Like, performance marketing in a traditional world isn't really there today. It's hard, like you do it on gut feeling. But with the development we see right now, you can be much more targeted and specific. Like for us, we have 215 stores in Sweden. It don't make sense to buy ads across, a classic carpet sometimes. So sometimes we want to be a bit more niche, pinpoint, target, routes that people who haven't visited our store and on their commutal routes to our competitors. Here we buy digital out of home, for example. and become just a bit more smart in the way we buy traditional media. Is it scalable? I don't really know, but is this going to be efficient? Hopefully. And I think that's going to boost the whole sort of category.
More efficiency.
I have something to add as well to that. Also now when we have more channels programmatically, that we meet the target audience across the whole day, depending on where they travel. If it's to work, commuting, then out of home works well. And then on the evening, CTV would work very, very well, or during the day on display or on online video.
Yeah, for sure.
Does anyone want to add a last point before the moderators get out?
I have 10 seconds, I can see. I think first-party data, clean rooms will be really interesting to follow. There's still a lot we can match between the advertiser and the publisher in a clean room, so we come around the whole GDPR thing. And that's really interesting. And then I hope we will look at how we measure things and maybe go away from just clicks and viewability, but have something that's more valuable and that works for all medias. So omnichannel sounds really, really great. We just need to find a solution where we can actually put everything together and measure it across all channels.
So clean room
is
the key.
Yes.
According to Stefan.
Short one then.
Yeah.
So we see ourselves from the agency side becoming more of a strategic advisor to our customers, working much more closely with them, helping them with and shifting our time to more data analysis and see that AI takes a bigger part of the buying process.
Right. Thank you so much for this panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.